until you have the smallest numbers. So until the only thing you have left are numbers that can't be broken down anymore. So those prime factorization is a term that you should know. And sometimes in the word problems for kids your age, it may say use prime factorization to solve. So you need to know what that means. Our warm-up today, you're just going to tell me, is it a real or not real number? And then you're going to order at least to greatest. If you don't know how to make a square root sign with your computer, then just put the number in the order that it goes without the square root sign, and I'll know what you meant. But if you want to put in a square root sign, if you look up here, I'll show you. You hit the insert tab up at the top, and then it brings down a selection menu, and you go down to equation, and you click equation, and then up here it'll tell you all the possible equations you can use, and this one's going to have the square root sign available. And if you want to do a regular square root, you pick that one. If you want to do a cubed root, you pick that one. So square root, you just click there, and then you can type whatever you want. I think I scrolled down back. So if you wanted to put one in, you just go to insert. But you can just put numbers, and I'll know what you meant.
Go ahead.
I'll know what you meant. One of them is not a real number. We talked about that yesterday. There's some way with square roots, you can't have some symbol inside the square root. Which one's not the real number? Number 5. Number 5 is not a real number because it has a negative sign inside the square root. The negative sign will be outside the square root. So that one's not a real number. The negative sign's in the wrong place. On USA Test Prep, if you guys did your homework last night, you probably saw this symbol, the plus or minus sign. Plus or minus means that this number could be negative or positive and still achieve the same answer. So if I times 7 times 7, I'd get 49. If I multiply negative 7 times negative 7, I would still get 49. So when it has a plus or minus sign there, it means that you can achieve that number regardless of if it's positive or negative. So on USA Test Prep, a lot of kids got confused by that number, by this symbol. That means it could be positive or negative and still give that same answer. Up here, some kids saw these on USA Test Prep as well. If there's a big number next to the square root sign, that means that big number is being multiplied by that square root. So with this one, it would actually mean 4 times the square root of 3. And then I have a better example because it's easier to figure out. With this one, it would be 4 times the cube root of 125. So it would actually be 4 times 5, and it would equal 20. So if you see a really big number right next to that square root sign, it's not a division thing. You're multiplying that big number by the square root of that other number, or the cubed root of that other number. There's a little for you. Christian.
I got a question. So, first of all, what is that real symbol?
Which one?
Plus
This?
sign?
It means that the number could be plus or minus and still achieve the same answer.
Okay. And so what is that real number stuff mean?
With square roots, you just got to remember the way that you write them. If you want the number to be negative, the negative sign has to be on the outside of the square root. Because if you put the negative sign on the inside of the square root, it's not the proper way to write it if you want to have a negative number left over. Because if you multiply a negative times a negative, you end up with positive.
So the negative signs inside and it's not real number.
Then it's written incorrectly, and you won't solve it that way. But I just wanted, if you're looking for a negative solution with a square root, it has to have the negative sign on the outside of that symbol. And that symbol looks so much like a division sign that a lot of kids read it as division when they see that bigger number next to it. But it actually means you're multiplying the solution of the square root by the bigger number. If you did not do your USA test prep practice, I will have some time at the end of class for you to do it today in class. Tomorrow, we're gonna have a USA test prep test. If you're here, I know some people when we have half days don't show up, but if you're here, we will take the test in the classroom on your Chromebooks. If you're not here, I gave you until Saturday to do the test if you're gonna do it at home. That's why it says take home test. And if you decide to do it tonight because you think you're ready for it, that's totally fine. Just be prepared to work quietly while everyone else is taking it tomorrow. Natavia.
Do we have attempted tries or no?
A what?
Do we have attempted tries on
That you got 3 tries on the test. You have unlimited tries on the practice. But you're not gonna do it while we're learning today. You will have time at the end of my class to do it though. I'm giving you time in class to make sure you have it done. Now, some of the stuff that's due on Friday is not going to go in this quarter's grades. It'll go in next quarter's grades. And I went ahead and set up my grade book the way I do it because I like to be real organized and let you know what to expect. So if you pull up quarter 2 grades, you'll already see titles in there for things that I'm going to grade. So that way you know what to expect from me and what I'm going to be grading. We're going to put these in order. Let's look at the negative numbers first. We really don't have to figure out what the square roots are. We can figure it out by just using our number sense. If it's a bigger number, it's going to end up with a bigger square root solution. So which one of those 2 negative numbers are going to be in the least value? Which 2 of those negative numbers are going to have the least value? The square root of 2,000 to the negative? Or is it going to be the square root of 990 negative? Which one? Very good. If you answer a question for me, don't forget, you can get a treasure box treat. I think Charlie answered one earlier. So the first one, the smallest, would be the square root of 2,000 because with negative numbers, the larger the number looks, it means it's a smaller value. Like if your bank account is negative $20 versus negative 50 cents. You owe the bank more money if it's negative $20. So the negatives, the bigger the number, the least the value, the lesser the value. What's gonna go next? Right here. Oh, you guys, y'all can just put, in your ordering, you can just put 2, comma, I'll know that you meant number 2. But if you want to put the symbol in, it's up here, insert, and then you go down to equation, but I know that's a lot of steps. So I'm fine with you just putting the number it was. What's going next, Caitlin? We have another negative number though. Hold on. The negative's gonna go next. What's the other negative number? Number 5 is not real, so it's not going in our negative 90. There you go. So then next, I think Caitlin already told me what was third, but maybe y'all didn't hear her. But let's see if someone else can tell me what's third. The square root of 1/9. Don't forget, you can get a treat if you want one, if you answer a question for me. John. So now what's next? I'm just crossing these out as I go. What's next, Christian?
2 part 56.
The square root of 2 and 5/600. And then finally, our process of elimination. What's last, Natavia?
Number 1.
number one will end up being last, the square root of 330. I really should make more of a check mark on my square root signs, because they look too much like division signs. Yeah, square root sign really should look more like a check mark and then a line when you write it. So we got those in order from least to greatest. If I said in descending order, then what would you do to them? Trinity. Yep, descending would be greatest to least, so you would just flip it all in the order of it all. You can get a treat if you want. Turn that off. Everyone should have their answers in there because we did that together. Make sure you have your EQ in there. Make sure you have, you could have written numbers and you have to do the square root sign. It was number 2, then number 3, then put that one more. 3, then number 6, and then 5 that wasn't 1, so 4, and then finally 1. So that was our ordering. And you can just put it in as numbers like that, it's fine. All right, our ticket out the door today, you'll have time to do right after we do our review sheet. I'm gonna give y'all time at the end of class to do any homework you have, to do any test corrections you need to do. You'll have time at the end of class. I'm gonna get back by Friday. Stay away. Down here, the ticket out the door questions are out of the textbook. If I accidentally had a misprint on number 2, if your question number 2 has 4 zeros, it should only have 3. I just mistyped it. And then I reshared it, so it should have replaced y'all. But these questions are all about a tsunami. I got it straight out of the textbook. Scientists use square roots and a lot of different science equations in order to find real answers to situations. Like if they know that there was an earthquake, they can predict how fast the tsunami is going to travel. This came straight out of the textbook, so I'm going to leave this on the screen, and I'm going to have it up in a little bit when it's time to do that in the last 10 minutes of class, so that you can see the paragraph at the top that tells you a little bit about it. It's just straight out of the green textbook. If you want to get one when you're doing your ticket out the door, there's some back there. But today, our ticket out the door applies to a real life situation. And I just changed some of the names in my question. Like 38, I believe, I changed the name, but it's fine. I put my pet's names in there. All right, so that's your ticket out the door. You'll do in the last 10 minutes. Right now, we're going to work with our group and our whole class to play this I Have, Who Has game. They're in the little pocket things with your group. So pass out those cards to your